Well, good morning. After a few days of working on a few other projects, we have concluded our work on the AMI D80 model double D amplifier. And the project went quite well. I gave it the smoke test yesterday, and right down the line I had no problems, so I was quite happy with that. Doesn't always happen that way. Taking a look at what has been done since our last video, the input-output audio transformer has been wired in. There's the little gem right there. And I have replaced all of the bypass and coupling waxy capacitors. Didn't touch the micas. And all of the waxy capacitors, when I checked them on my 950 ICO, had no leakage, which is quite unusual for capacitors that are 64 years old. I did find a number of resistors that were out of tolerance, particularly over in the input audio section. They were replaced. The two power resistors in the power supply were also replaced. The old China-covered 6,000 ohm resistor was good, as well as those two bad boys right there. They were within tolerance. In fact, they were right on the money. In the first video, I had mentioned that the electrolytics were all within tolerance and there were no leakage. I did pull an executive decision, and I replaced a number of the electrolytics. I did leave the 6SN7 input audio cathode bias capacitor in place, as well as the 6L6, which I'll show you right here. The 6L6 cathode bias capacitor in place. Now the 6SN7 was added later. This is an older diagram. AMI would change their circuitry, possibly twice a year. So I drew this in. As you can see, here is the input bias capacitor on the input side of the 6SN7, providing cathode bias. This relay right here is energized once our cathode voltage reaches 24 volts. And when it reaches 24 volts, after being energized, it also energizes this electrical outlet. Once energized, the turntable starts to rotate. Reason being is when the jukebox is cold, the amplifier needs a little bit of time to warm up until the music starts to play. Look at it this way. Back in the day, somebody dropping a nickel in and wanting to hear Teresa Brewer's Till I Waltz Again With You. We wanted to hear the whole song and not miss 20 seconds of it on a cold jukebox. I believe when we did our first video of this restoration project, we took a look at the input voltage versus the AC current. At 90 volts, this amp was drawing about 1550 millivolts. Now, some difference. This it's powered up currently on my Suncor AC power right, and as you can see, at 121 volts, we're drawing about 850 milliamps, which is some change from 1500 milliamps at 90 volts. Okay, I'm going to flip it over. You're probably hearing a little bit of music in the background there. In just a moment, I'll give you a taste of what it sounds like. The tubes, as we discussed in a previous video, the 5U4 was good. I did replace the 6L6. It's matched electrically at 5500 micromhos with one of the original 6L6s, not the original tube of the amplifier, but the one that was with the amp when it came in the door. That 6SN7 inverter tube was good. I did replace the audio input 6SN7, as you see here. Looking at this outlet here, this is the one we discussed on the bottom. This is the turntable receptacle input and our speaker terminal. And I did forget to show you, and I'm going to do it right now, the relay. That's the 24-volt relay we were talking about that actuates this turntable receptacle. I think that about covers everything. This is the volume control over here. So I'm going to give you a little bit of Charlie Spivak's trumpet and orchestra. You'll have a chance to hear how the amp sounds. Thanks for viewing this three-part series. A little rusty, getting back into doing videos. Haven't done any probably for close to 2 years. Well, I take that back. I did one in January. But it's been quite a while. So have a great day and enjoy a little bit of Charlie Spivak.